Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. General Hospital. Drew kills Monica. Broken heart over Crypt causes her death? You know, it's no secret that Tracy Quartermaine, Jane Elliott, and Monica Quartermaine, Leslie Charleson, have had more than their fair share of conflict over the years on General Hospital. But deep down, at this point in their lives, you know, Tracy and Monica have this deep respect. They love each other. And they are in a very good place. For a while now, Tracy has been vocal about not wanting anyone to rock the boat or upset Monica in any way because her health is fragile. That's why when the whole scandal with Drew cheating with Michael Corinthos, Chad dual wife, Willow Tate, Caitlin McMullen, came out, Tracy was very worried about the effect it would have on Monica. Not to mention that was at the same time that Michael nearly died in the explosion at Sonny Corinthos, Maurice Bernard. And he was rushed to Germany to be treated for all his third-degree burns. All of that is stress for Monica. That's also why Tracy banned Drew from the Quartermaine grounds. Shortly after that, Drew was stunned, hurt, shocked when he kept trying to reach Monica to get her to override Tracy, but Monica wouldn't even take his calls. And she seemed to be completely okay with Tracy kicking him off the Quartermaine property. Monica was also on board and supportive when Tracy was desperate to keep Michael's children at the mansion. So, you know, Monica adores her great-grandchildren, and Tracy wanted her to be able to spend as much time with them as possible. Tracy even confided in her new bestie, Stella Henry, Vernee Watson, about how hard it's going to be when Monica passes away, so they're setting everything up. Drew Quartermaine's ruthless actions and potential impact on Monica's health on General Hospital. Right now, Drew is completely off the rails. He's ruthlessly trying to stick it to Tracy. And to be fair, she did provoke Drew by getting a court order banning him from calling himself a Quartermaine. But despite Tracy also playing dirty, it could absolutely be Drew's actions. And the stress he's causing that kills Monica. I mean, sadly, GH fans know that her character's death is coming. And probably coming soon because her portrayer, Leslie Charleson, passed away not that long ago. The Monica actress, if you don't remember, died January 12th of this year. She was 79. Nearly 50 years on General Hospital. I mean, gosh, I just remember watching her when I was a kid. You know, her cause of death was revealed to be a result of traumatic brain injury. And that was down to some balance issues. Leslie had been having a really hard time getting around. She was using a wheelchair, using a walker. And we know she suffered a fall not long before her death, which had just been one in a series of falls over the last few years that had just been catastrophic to her health. And all of that led to the head injury that ended her life. Of course, the General Hospital showrunners are going to write out the character of Monica Quartermaine. They're not going to recast it. That's out of the question. Fans would be absolutely outraged. So, no matter how they do it, Monica's character will exit as part of a death storyline. And the way things are going with Drew, it looks increasingly like Monica passing away could be caused by his drama and the vengeful chaos he is engaging in constantly. His lawyer, Martin Gray, Michael E. Knight, is helping stir the pot. Quartermaine family crypt controversy. Drew's slimy move on General Hospital. Drew Quartermaine recently had a surveyor come to the Quartermaine estate to survey the land and found out that the Quartermaine family crypt is partially on public land. Plus it was illegally taken by Edward Quartermaine, Stuart Damon. So, Drew and Martin Gray made a really slimy move. They got a court order to move the crypt and the remains inside it. And that includes Tracy's parents, Edward and Lila Quartermaine, and her brother, Alan Quartermaine, Stuart Damon, Monica's ex-husband. You know, this is low, even for Drew, and Tracy was furious. In her rage, she knocked a tool from the surveyor's hand, and Drew called it assault. And he had Tracy arrested, but that's not going to stop her. She told Drew he betrayed everybody and harmed Monica, who had welcomed him into her home when he showed up, you know, just a few years back. Tracy even told Drew he should leave Port Charles. But Drew clapped back and reminded Tracy that she was once the black sheep of the family. Everybody wanted her gone at one point, and said it could happen again. Drew declared he is a Quartermaine and will get his way. Eventually, Mayor Laura Spencer, Jeannie Francis, convinced Drew to drop the charges on Tracy because it's not going to work out well for him. It's just not good optics politically. Martin backed Laura up, so Drew finally backed down. Said the war is far from over though, on General Hospital. Then Drew told Martin he will break Tracy. And he is determined to get the Qs to turn on her, but it seems like there's no way that would happen. Monica's fragile health and the looming threat of Drew's actions. Tracy called him a grifter and said she wouldn't let him use the Quartermain family name or move her parents from their final resting place. Drew's being awful. And this whole ordeal absolutely, I think, could be the tipping point that robs Monica of her last bit of health and kills her. If Drew doesn't stop and he keeps ripping the family apart, Monica might literally die of a broken heart. Drew trying to move Alan's remains and the remains of other people Monica loved. And targeting the family is just too much. The shock of what Drew is doing may be so great, Monica goes into cardiac arrest or some other dire medical crisis. I mean, we know the powers that be at General Hospital have to write out Leslie Charleston's character at some point. And it's been going on a while, so my guess it'll come soon, maybe in May sweeps. Drew seems the likeliest source of blame for Monica's death. And if he is found to be responsible or the family thinks he is, Drew will be hated forever, not just by the whole Q family, but most people in Port Charles and over at General Hospital because Monica was such a legacy there. If Drew's aggravating antics stress Monica to death, he would be more hated than ever and by even more people. Sadly, of course, Monica's story must end. And while they are completely villainizing him and making him worse by the day, I can see them making Drew the cause of her death. We'll have to wait and see, but since GH wants him to be the most hated man in town, you know, placing the blame for Monica's death at his doorstep seems like someplace they might go. Drew's irredeemable actions and potential downfall. Drew Quartermain is already irredeemable after what he did with Willow and to Michael by doing that. And then now moving Willow and the kids in with him, so he doesn't have much further to fall. But if it is Drew that triggers Monica's death, that's about as far as he could fall. And I don't think anyone in Port Charles would ever see him the same way again. Tragedy has a way of circling back when you least expect it. Just when the Quartermains thought their family had survived every storm imaginable, another heartbreak is poised to shatter them forever. What began as an emotional tug-of-war over Alan's crypt may end with Monica's untimely death, and Drew at the center of it all. A legacy torn apart. The tension at the Quartermain mansion has been simmering for weeks. Monica, grieving deeply after the recent revelations about the family's secrets, had become obsessed with preserving the sanctity of Alan's crypt. For her, it wasn't just a resting place, it was the last tangible link to the life she built, the love she lost, and the family she tried to hold together. But Drew, whose identity crisis and newfound sense of belonging to the Quartermain legacy have grown more complicated since his return, saw things differently. He wanted to renovate the family mausoleum, expand the grounds, and move Alan's remains into a new, modernized memorial site. A gesture he thought would honor both Alan and the Quartermain name. Monica saw it as desecration. "You can rebuild the mansion 100 times, she told him one stormy evening, her voice trembling with both fury and sorrow, but you cannot rebuild a soul's peace. Alan deserves to rest where he is." Drew, ever the soldier turned businessman, clenched his jaw. "We honor him by moving forward, Monica, not by clinging to the past." Those words would echo long after the confrontation ended, and after Monica's heart stopped beating. The day everything changed. On a crisp October morning, the Quartermain estate was unusually quiet. Tracy had gone to London, Brooke Lynn was at Deception working damage control after another PR scandal, and Ned was in a meeting downtown. Monica had driven herself to the cemetery, a bouquet of white roses in her hand. Unbeknownst to her, Drew followed. Witnesses later said they saw the two arguing near Alan's crypt. Drew's voice was raised, raw with frustration. Monica, visibly shaking, tried to walk away, but Drew stepped in front of her. Words turned to shouts. Shouts turned to something much worse. According to what one groundskeeper overheard, Monica accused Drew of trying to erase Alan to make yourself matter. Drew allegedly snapped, shouting, "I am a Quartermain, damn it! You just never wanted to see it." Then, silence. A few minutes later, Monica collapsed. Whether from stress, heartbreak, or something far more sinister remains under investigation. The whisper of guilt. When paramedics arrived, Monica was unresponsive. Drew performed CPR, his hands trembling, his voice cracking as he pleaded, "Come on, Monica, please!" But it was too late. Monica Quartermain was pronounced dead at General Hospital, the same place she dedicated her entire life to saving others. As the news rippled through Port Charles, shock turned to suspicion. Brooke Lynn blamed herself for leaving Monica alone. Ned blamed the Quartermain curse. But Jason Morgan, who's been quietly trying to rebuild his relationship with Drew, blamed something else entirely. "Drew's not the same," Jason confided to Carly. "He's been under pressure, angry, confused. I think what happened with Monica wasn't an accident." Carly, ever the realist, pushed back. "You think Drew killed her?" "Jason, she was old, she had a heart condition." But Jason's gut said otherwise. "You didn't see the look in his eyes at the cemetery. He's carrying something he can't admit to." And indeed, Drew hasn't been himself since that day. He avoids the mansion, refuses to discuss the funeral, and hasn't set foot near Alan's crypt. The autopsy bombshell. Days later, the hospital coroner made a discovery that would send shivers down every spine in Port Charles. Monica's cause of death wasn't simply a heart attack. It was cardiac arrest triggered by an extreme adrenaline surge. In other words, her heart gave out under intense emotional duress. But the bigger question loomed. What caused that duress? A crypt camera installed by the cemetery for vandalism prevention might hold the answer. Security footage shows Monica stepping backward as Drew looms closer, gesturing wildly. His hand grabs her arm, then she gasps, clutches her chest, and collapses. Drew falls to his knees instantly, but to the public eye, it looks damning. Now the PCPD is investigating whether Drew's confrontation directly contributed to Monica's death. Quartermain fallout. At the mansion, chaos reigns. Tracy returns, fuming with grief and vengeance. "I leave for 2 weeks, and you kill Monica?" she spits at Drew, not caring that half the family is present. Drew tries to defend himself, but his words falter. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I was trying to protect her legacy, our legacy." Tracy's eyes narrow. "The only legacy you've protected is your own ego." Brooke Lynn, torn between fury and compassion, collapses in Chase's arms, while Ned demands Drew leave the property until the investigation concludes. "I can't believe this," Drew whispers to Jason before leaving. "She looked at me like I was Alan's ghost, like I didn't belong." Jason's silence says everything. GH Hospital mourns its matriarch. In one of the most heartbreaking sequences in recent memory, General Hospital staff gather in the chapel to honor Monica's memory. Elizabeth gives a tearful tribute about Monica's guidance. Finn stands silently beside her, eyes wet. Even Sonny, who's had his share of tension with the Quartermains, shows up quietly, placing a white rose on the altar. "Port Charles has lost a healer, a mother, and a friend," Laura Collins says, voice quivering. "But her spirit will live on in every life she touched." Behind her, Drew watches from the doorway, unseen, his guilt suffocating him. When the ceremony ends, he slips away to the crypt once more, only to find the plaque marking Monica's resting place already engraved beside Alan's. He falls to his knees, murmuring, "I'm sorry, Monica. I never meant for this." A faint breeze stirs the flowers beside the tomb, almost as if in response. The aftermath and what comes next. With Monica's death officially ruled as cardiac arrest but the circumstances still murky, Drew's future looks grim. Tracy is threatening to push him out of ELQ, while Jason grapples with whether to tell the truth about what he suspects. Rumors swirl that a mysterious witness may come forward, someone who saw what really happened at the crypt. Could it have been Ned, watching from a distance? Or maybe even Ava, who was seen near the cemetery earlier that morning visiting Morgan's grave. Either way, Monica's death has ignited something dark in Drew, a combination of grief, guilt, and defiance. Some say he's drinking again. Others whisper he's been visiting Alan's old office late at night, muttering to himself about making things right. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: Port Charles will never be the same.